Yeah, she's the one who walked it on because so I don't know. I'm a daughter, my daughter. Okay, give me your I know. We're going to talk. You know, it's really trying to oh my God, the articles written about it. It is a miracle. Yeah. Hi, David. Put a badge on. Put a badge on. Hi. Yeah.
Morning. Say that again now.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Remember I asked you a question last night? You don't remember the question? No. I asked if we were going to have donuts here.
Oh yes, I do remember.
And I come with donuts, and we have all of these donut holes.
It's funny.
So don't out me.
I shouldn't out you.
You shouldn't out me.
That you also brought donuts.
Yes.
I'm inclined to say it. You don't want me to.
I don't want to be outed.
What's the outing part?
I don't want you to mention my name as being the bringer of the donuts.
Then I won't do it.
Okay.
But
Let me be anonymous.
to be we'll continue the discussion. Nah, maybe not. We'll see. Okay, all right.
It's not that important. We have
Other
more weighty
things.
subjects to discuss. We
do
don't
we-
need to discuss donuts.
Other than food?
Food is a weighty subject, but I can have those weighty subjects with others. With you, I'll reserve the other kinds of weighty subjects.
Love it.
Okay?
I'll make a mental note. Never discuss donuts with Steve again.
At least for 6 months. We'll
Okay,
have a
very good.
hiatus.
Excellent.
Good morning. Here are a few of these things. You guys are sitting right.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Shabbat shalom. I got a note yesterday from Jan Mendelson, who said, I can't remember the second word, but the first word was not squares but rounds. And I wrote to her, I said, what the heck is that? Set up for Torah study. Rounds. Okay. Yeah. It's nice that you're so flexible that we're able to do things like this, because evidently, I don't know exactly what, but something is coming here later this morning or early this afternoon, and they don't want to have to tear down the big tables. So we're all part of a team. Since this was a session that we weren't planning on initially, I take it that nobody picked up the bagels? Let me add this again. Who picked up the bagels this morning? Okay, so are there bagels?
Doris.
Doris. Thank you, Doris. Okay. I haven't heard applause like that in such a long time. And donut holes and donuts and all kinds of things this morning. So feel free to go over to the table as we always do. Okay, so no Torah study next week, and our next session will be the first Shabbat in 2026. It's so hard to believe. I passed these out, an opportunity to meet our interim senior rabbi, Rabbi Andy Berlin. Those of you who were here last night at the service saw her, and here's an opportunity. It says all CMO members 60 and over. I don't know why they say that, but I'm sure if you're 59, you can sneak in. Anyway, it is an opportunity to meet her. I don't know why anybody can't come. So feel free to come to that on a Wednesday. All members 60 and over. I hope not. Okay, very good. Okay, let's do our blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We praise you, Lord our God, sovereign of the universe, who sanctifies us through God's commandments, enjoining upon us the obligation to immerse ourselves in words of Torah. Amen. Okay, so we are going to now be looking at the story of Joseph and his brothers. It's fully a quarter of the book of Genesis. Is that true? Yes. 50 chapters in Genesis. This is 12 or 13. So obviously it's regarded by the editors as an extremely important story. As I think I've said, I think the second longest narrative thread in the Bible, in the histories in any event, exceeded only by the story of David, and that's not a surprise. We spent last week preparing for this story because it does seek to resolve a problem. At least that's my interpretation. I mean, that no author or editor said to me, this is what we intend, to resolve a problem of sibling rivalry. So we talked last week about the issue of sibling rivalry, and we laid out a variety, maybe 6 or 7 episodes early in Genesis, which feature sibling rivalry. And so my point was to try to show that this is a constant theme, I might even call it a leitmotif, in the book of Genesis, which then the story of Joseph and his brothers deliberately takes up, recognizes the problem, and seeks to resolve it. So my approach to this was, let's look to the past and see how it lays the foundations for the present and the future. Past being prologue. What we read in history can be understood as an anticipation of what is to come. So my point, my idea was supplemented in our discussion by two other ideas, and I just can't express adequately how thrilled I am when this happens. That together we put together a larger picture. Inevitably, one of us, for example, me, has a view, and the view captures my attention. And it's something that I want to work on. I find it very exciting to find an idea and to see so much discussion about it. And of course, one doesn't need to apologize for this. We all do this, but it can suggest a kind of myopia, a kind of narrowing of vision, because one gets enamored of one's own position and doesn't ask oneself, let me step back for a minute and see whether there are other approaches to this material. And so this is one of the great things about collaboration, about doing it in a group. And you know, in the Jewish tradition, we don't study by ourselves. We study with a partner, with a chaver, in which one reads and the other then adds, and you have a discussion about it on the assumption that two is better than one, because we do get stuck, maybe that's unfair, in our own vision, our own perspective. So the story that I tried to tell was one of something deeply problematic, siblings at one another. And Candy, I think it was you who raised the point about, well, what are the good aspects of these relationships? So that is something also to think about when we're thinking about siblings or family rivalries. What are the felicitous aspects of it? And then Steve raised near the end of the session the issue of becoming, that this isn't just the past coming back to haunt us and that we need to find a solution to it, but actually these stories also look to the future, and that is how individuals, Steve, if I'm missing your point, you'll tell me, how individuals can grow and become more than they were at the beginning. So, past, future, burden, possibility, pain, felicity. So we have several pairs of terms which I think broaden our understanding of what is possible in this story. So I like this, where we are at this point very, very much. So let's take a look. Let's open to Genesis 37 and see what we can make of it. Okay, so Vayeshev Yaakov be'eretz Megurei Aviv. Jacob was settled in the land of his father, where his father had sojourned, the land of Canaan. This is the line of Jacob. Elet Toldot Yaakov. This is the story of Jacob. Joseph, that's a little bit strange. This is the story of Jacob. Let's assume that we could put a colon. The text doesn't have punctuation, but we could put a colon there. This is the story of Jacob, colon, Joseph? So the author, I think, is signaling that Joseph becomes the central figure in this story. And the rabbis have a great deal to say about this. For example, what does Joseph have to do with the larger story? Well, there are several possibilities. One is Jacob worked for 7 years for Rachel, Joseph's mother, and he was deterred in that quest by Laban, who insisted that he stay much longer and first marry Leah. So the whole motivation of the story of the proliferation of Jacob's offspring is Joseph. Because he wanted Joseph, namely Rachel, we have all the other children. Because by being deterred, and now he has to marry first Leah, he wouldn't have wanted or had Leah were he to have been given Rachel right away. So Joseph, this is the story of the line of Jacob, Joseph, as the motivation for the story of Jacob, the offspring of Jacob. You see the point here? So this is what one of the commentaries says about this. Why does this strange word Joseph stand in for the story of Jacob? And you see the answer. He has to wait through all these other children to get to what he originally wanted, Rachel and Rachel's offspring. At 17 years of age, Joseph tended the flocks with his brothers as a helper to the sons of his father's wives, Bilhah and Zilpah, and Joseph brought bad reports of them to their father. Okay, so Joseph is a tattletale. He comes from them, from the brothers, and he brings bad reports. Now, Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, okay? And the locution, the grammar here is interesting. As we've said many times, as I pointed out many times, the general syntax of a biblical sentence is verb first, vayomer, and he said, and then who's the subject? Verb, subject. If it's switched, subject, verb, that is a sign that the author wants us to pay special attention to what's happening here. And so the Hebrew is v'Yisrael. You remember Israel. Yisrael is Jacob's other name, okay? So Israel, v'Yisrael ahav, loved, v'ahavta, right? You shall love the Lord your God. Ahav, aleph, hey, bet. So instead of saying, and Israel loved, the translation is, now Israel loved. So this is a move made by the translator in order to draw out what is unusual about reversing the syntax. You see the idea here? So we're pointing out something important in this story, parental favoritism. Okay? So if we think of our theme as trying to unpack the elements of the pathology of a family which yields poisonous sibling rivalry, what are its causes? And if we unpack the causes, the pathology, we can then say to ourselves, if we can resolve these pathological elements, we are likely to cure the family of sibling rivalry. So I think that's the logic of this story in one of its manifestations. I won't say this over and over again. Let's assume that it's a premise. One of the issues of the story. The other might be Candy's notion of the good elements, Steve's notion of becoming. But here I want to focus on what's the source of the problems confronting this family, which I'm going to say have to be resolved on the following analogy. That the family is the first part of the city. This is what Maimonides says. The family is the first part of the city, namely, it's the city in microcosm. And the way in which family members treat one another, do they get along, do they not get along? What are the sources of the problems? What are the possible solutions? If we can, rather than dealing with this issue writ large, the whole community, but treat it as a microcosm of the community, we can then identify the ways in which communities become healthy or become sick. And let's make another assumption here. Since this is the story that precedes the book of Exodus, where at the beginning we find the people as slaves in Egypt, namely vulnerable, and assuming then that that community has to find a way to resolve its own internal problems in order to survive, the Joseph story can be seen as a prologue to what the city, what the community needs to do. Okay? So the story of, on that assumption, because if the family can't solve its problems, the family might dissolve and the end of the line, so to speak. People, somebody moves to Oregon and somebody moves to Miami, and they don't talk to one another ever again, and it's gone. On the assumption that the community imperiled in Egypt has to have found ways to survive, this is a story that shows us in miniature how that might happen. So right away, we're being exposed explicitly to the pathologies of the family as an anticipation of what needs to be rectified. You see, I'm making a big story out of this, Steve.
A small point. You can intuit that Jacob thinks of Joseph as kind of his first son, the first son that he wanted.
Yeah.
And in what we just read, Joseph is tattling on Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, the sons of the handmaid.
Oh.
So it seems like Joseph now has picked up the fact that his father looks at him as the firstborn, and he's dissing those who are only sons of the handmaiden and not of the wife.
You don't think these are sons of Leah as well?
Well, it says explicitly he is a servant lad of Bilhah and Zilpah, and telling tales about them, ill reports.
Okay.
So, just sort of to put a little more emphasis on how Joseph views himself as superior to his brothers, he's saying they're explicit about Zilpah and Bilhah. Only the handmaid's sons, not Reuben, Levi, the sons of Leah.
So I'm not sure I understand your point. You're saying that if the author had mentioned the sons of Leah, that might have put Joseph a little closer to the sons of a wife. And in order to indicate just what he thinks, Bilhah and Zilpah, in a way, you haven't said this, but I'm going to infer it and tell me if I'm right, stand in for the inferiority to Jacob of his other wives / is that what you're saying?
Kind of. Joseph feels it's kind of safe to be disrespectful to these other brothers, even though they're older than he is.
Yes.
Because they are handmaiden sons, not sons of wives.
And that's what's made explicit, though, of course, the brothers of Leah take umbrage at this and feel that they are being denigrated too.
Yes.
Okay.
So we see an evolution.
Okay, you say, okay.
This is the handmaiden's sons.
Per se, exclusively.
Joseph is being a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And so he feels it's safe to start being disrespectful to those folks, even though he's the youngest of his sons.
Yeah, okay, I like your point. I had never reckoned with why Bilhah and Zilpah and not the sons of Leah, and you've pointed that out.
He's sort of testing the waters.
Yeah, okay.
To see if he can, how far he can push.
Yeah. And so he sticks a toe in the water, T-O-E, and finds that the water is very congenial because the father is going with the larger implications of what he's saying here. I like the point. Diane?
So I want to build on that a little bit, because I had not noticed that it was Zilpah and Bilhah.
Yeah.
But he's with those two wives, he's with the sons of those wives, because that's where he's sent. He's not sent to watch the flocks with the sons of Leah, per se, but with the sons of the Canaanites. Why does Jacob send him to be with those sons?
Yes.
And not the other sons? And so the setup includes Jacob making that decision, maybe because he felt it would be safer for Joseph to be with those sons. But whatever the situation was, everyone is set up here.
Yes.
Jacob, with that decision, sets up Joseph, and he sets up the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah,
Yeah.
and now we're on a roll.
So Jacob, your point is that in a way Jacob has narrow vision. He might think that since he's sending him only to Bilhah and Zilpah, it's a little bit safer. But it turns out that he's going to go to all the sons. So this is so in the theme that I'm promoting here, but not exclusively, the pathology of the family, now focused on Jacob's role in this pathology. It's even worse than we might have thought. Jacob, in his innocence or his short-sightedness or narrow-sightedness, thinks, I'll just send him to the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, not being able to infer what comes naturally. They're all there. That's your point here. So Jacob becomes an even more problematic figure through the Bilhah and Zilpah emphasis. You know, I've read this story, I don't want to exaggerate, 10 billion times.
Don't exactly.
Never, I mean, of course I read Bilhah and Zilpah every time, but never have reckoned with exactly what the implications are. So I think that's great. The closer reading of the story, I love it. David?
Yeah, I want to build on what Diane just said, because the pathology of Jacob, I take difference. He's not innocent. This is a man who I think consciously and possibly subconsciously is favoring Joseph. And, you know, as we get just a little farther along, he sends Joseph to Shechem. I mean, that's intentional. And that's, you know, just another motif of what we've just seen.
Yeah.
He's a flawed guy here when it comes to being a parent.
Right.
And how to, you know, manage the situation.
No, I think that's a great point. But we also, when we are talking about Jacob, we have to remember David's point of a couple of weeks ago, that Jacob is both Jacob and Israel. So that as he is being the flawed individual, he's also the carrier of the promise to the people, of which he is the, what do you call this kind of thing, eponymous ancestor, right? Name-giving ancestor. So as we're talking about Jacob, and you're pointing it out here, another aspect of it, we have to think about, gee, what is the author suggesting about the other side of Jacob? Nevertheless, he carries the promise.
But does the author distinguish when he chooses to use the word Israel, versus when he uses Jacob?
That's okay.
Is he trying to just make a character distinction here?
I don't know the answer to that. We would have to then examine the story in toto from the beginning of the Jacob story, which is back in Genesis 25, all the way to the end to delineate when he uses which word in what context. Is the author making the distinction? Here's what I hope the answer to that question is. No. He's not, because the two parts of Jacob are inextricably woven together. We, in our flaws, it's not just we're flawed and also we're carriers of the promise. We flawed people are, in the context of our flaws. I mean, you could say, who are you? Well, look, I mean, if you test me morally, I might be found wanted, but I happen to be the carrier of the covenant. That's a mystery, the mystery of those two things together. It's a flawed people, not a perfect people. This is not bringing into being a perfect individual who's going to carry something, but a deeply flawed people, which makes it possible for all of us to be part of this continuum. Arthur, and then Jim.
So, I never noticed Bill Hall, I haven't read the 10 doing, or maybe only 1 doing.
Yeah, well, you got a ways to go.
I got a ways to go. So, my thought is, I think I was hoping that in that pause when you said, gee, I was going to say no, I was hoping you'd say yes. That there is
Yes, what?
There is a distinction in the author's mind when he uses the different names. Because I get a sense here that, to me, the key to that question is the name of the Parsha, Vayeshev. I think it's a polemic against saying you can ever be settled down.
Uh-huh.
Forget it. You never achieve the end. And I have this sense, if I'm Jacob, and the angel of God says, you are now Israel, I figure I've got it all figured out. I'm on top of the world.
Yeah.
And so I can choose who's going to carry the torch for me. I'm Israel. I get to decide who will be Israel after me. I think Isaac and
Ishmael?
and Jacob are chosen by God,
Okay.
not by their parents, to carry the covenant.
Okay.
And the fact that he prefers Joseph doesn't mean he just loves him more. I think there's an implied sense that Israel's covenant, per Israel, will go through Joseph.
Yeah.
And Joseph doesn't get the torch.
He doesn't get the torch?
No. We're Jews, not Joes.
Oh, we're Jews, not Joes. I never read that into.
I think there's like a comeuppance here. Israel loved Joseph more than the others.
Yes.
In his glory, he's decided.
Uh.
This is at Vayeshev, it's all settled.
Yeah. I like your point about Vayeshev, with the first word in the Parsha, and he's settled down. As ironic, just try it. Just try to settle down. Yeah. And the idea that Jacob's, Israel's descendants wander. And there's a Zionist motif here, right? At long last, we can actually settle down. Whereas the diaspora, by definition, is an unstable reality. Jim.
Well, 2 things. Number one, I think we have to back up and look in the times that this was happening.
Okay.
If a man was of substance, he could afford more wives. That's the way the system was at that time.
Okay.
So Jacob was a fairly well-to-do man,
Yeah.
no question about it.
Okay.
And the other thing is the recurring theme of these imperfect leaders or heroes or whatever.
Yeah.
It simply underscores the fact that they're moral, and it strengthens the fact that God is superior to the whole thing. It has to be stressed these people are moral.
Are moral or immoral?
Mortal, I'm sorry, mortal.
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 Oh, I see.
He's stressing the fact that these people are mortal.
Yes, yes.
It shouldn't be seen as any kind of deity or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Right.
And it's a full circle. That's why I keep stressing this sibling rivalry, because it extends to tribal rivalry and wars like we have right now.
Yeah.
It's a constant reminder that we're trying to achieve something here that we can't.
That's an interesting point, because my emphasis has been on the particular problems that arise and cause the family to fly apart. You're making, I might say, a metaphysical point of the difference between the one immortal individual, God, so to speak, and that we are mortal and therefore not only flawed, but we cannot fully achieve our aspirations.
Yeah, even though we're trying.
Even though we're trying, and also God is staying with this project through thick and thin. I mean, the last phrase of the Bible, 2 Chronicles, is when King Cyrus of Persia conquers the Babylonians and therefore takes control of the Israel captives. He says they can now go back to the land of Israel. And the last two words are, the last word is Vaya'al, from Aliyah. And they went up. So God is, the prophet Isaiah, in Isaiah 45, I think it is, calls Cyrus his Mashiach, his anointed one. Yike. And it's Cyrus who, called by God, so to speak, has the people go up, is God's imprimatur on let's continue the story. So it's the odyssey of a flawed people, nevertheless, I might say mysteriously, being called by God to do a variety of things. And once you get to Isaiah, a light unto the nations and freeing the captives and so on, a big vocation. But here at least the story goes on, because the idea here is how can we preserve the continuity, the eternality, a little too big an inference, of the story of this people. Yeah. Jim?
What I want to add to that is back to the fact that Jacob was a well-to-do man.
Yes.
And could afford many wives and therefore a lot of children.
Yes.
I don't think we can look at this as a father like you or me.
Yes.
That was constantly in touch with the children and so forth.
Constantly.
It was almost like a nobility.
Okay.
It wasn't like a loving father.
Okay.
How could he be with all these wives and all these children? He couldn't do it.
Well, it says he loved Rachel. He loved Joseph. I think there's also the human father element here as well.
Right, but what I'm saying is
Yes.
it wasn't like you or I were close to our fathers.
Okay.
That's almost like nobility in the household.
Okay. My sense, Jim, is you've taken it too far. I think there's also, just a thought here. Because there is a kind of domesticity in this story as well. We get the sense of personal relationships as well. Yeah, okay. I don't need to be right, but I love when I am. Okay, no, that's interesting though. Okay, yeah, Lou?
Well, this part of the story certainly needs some sex and violence. Well, it has violence, but the sex part of it here is that Jacob must be very frustrated with Leah because it takes him a long time before he gets his offspring from her. You know, it says that what do you call it? Joseph was in his old age, was born in his old age. What? Hold on, it said,
Child of his old age.
Joseph at the age of, let's see, it says,
Verse 3, child of his old age.
Father
Yeah.
That's what it says in
Yeah.
line 3.
Yeah.
So I'm sure he was busy with his other wives, but, I'm sure, he had eyes for Leah and, wasn't happy.
What makes you say he wasn't happy?
Hold on, listen, Israel loved Joseph more than all his sons because he was a child of his old age.
Okay. Favoritism.
Right, so Joseph is the son of Leah.
No, Joseph's the son of Rachel.
Oh, Rachel, excuse me, I got
The wives messed up.
my wife's a twin, so,
They're very good, very good.
But, okay, so Rachel was the one,
He had to work for 14 years.
he had to work 14, yeah, Rachel was his last wife, not the,
Yeah.
Leah was the earlier wife,
Well,
right?
Leah was the earlier, right?
Right, okay.
You have the
I-
concubines.
So Rachel, you're right, Rachel, so he must have been very frustrated with Rachel, let's put it, because,
I don't know. I mean, that's his bargain with Laban. You have to work another 7 years, and he does.
that he finally got to marry her, and then he's looking to make offspring with her.
Yeah, and
It
does.
takes a while before it happens.
Sure, of course.
Okay, well,
And
anyway,
she dies while giving birth to Benjamin.
and then she dies going to give birth to Benjamin, so
Yeah.
that's, he was intending to have many children with her, and he only got 2.
Lou, if only the author had conferred with you, draw out the drama, you would say. So let's make it explicit.
Well, Midrash Midrash is part of the Torah as much as anything else.
Okay,
I mean, most of the things we ascribe to the Torah are actually Midrash.
okay. We try to keep the distinction, but, yeah, okay, very good. Vivian?
I'm going to hold my comment to see if it fits elsewhere.
Oh, love it. Okay, we'll hear from you soon. Okay, all right, let's go back. So, now Israel loved Joseph best of all his sons, for he was the child of his old age, and he made for him an ornamental tunic. And when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of his brothers, they hated him, so that they could not speak a friendly word to him. Once Joseph had a dream which he told to his brothers, and they hated him even more. Okay? So they hate him because he's the favored son. Now they hate him for his dream. And he said to them, "Hear this dream which I have dreamed." There were, and actually the Hebrew, I think, captures that because the verb and the noun come from the same root. The Shimunat, listen, hachalom hazeh, to this dream, asher chalamti, which I have dreamed. And that's a common biblical locution. The verb and the noun come from the same root, as happens here, dream which I have dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field, and when suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf. We ought to keep in mind the psychology, what is happening as the brothers are hearing this. So Joseph seems to have no problem, the dream may not be his own doing, but certainly that he tells it baldly and without any equivocation is a sign of who he is. Let's call him a narcissist who doesn't really care what the impact of his words or his deeds are. I remember something that the poet E.E. Cummings said, that he never saw a peripherally situated ego. We are all egocentric, right? And then, so let me make a big inference out of that. If E.E. Cummings is right, that he says in another place, we're the whole ball of wax to ourselves. if that's who we fundamentally are, self-regarding, then one of the functions of society, norms, the community idea, is to try to wean us from our narcissism so that we can regard others and regard the community. And if E. E. Cummings' idea is right, this is one of the tasks of this story, to see if Joseph, who is only thinking of himself and not the impact of himself on others, can Joseph, the son of the chosen wife, the first son of the chosen wife, in some way transcend himself in order to serve the needs of the community? Because if we're only isolated individuals, emotionally isolated, and the community is imperiled. And the community needs to survive because they're soon going to be in Egypt. I don't know whether you think I'm making too much of this connection between this story and the Exodus, but it strikes me that it's not accidental that this is the story that closes the book of Genesis. Diane?
So this moment where he tells the dream, the first dream about the sheaves. So I'm picturing this young man who's just awakening to his own sexuality, saying to his much older brothers, who probably have fully developed sexual lives, mine is bigger than yours, and mine is standing up, and yours is falling down. And to have very limited awareness of what the underlying communication is, I'm going to masturbate you.
Whoa.
So he lays that in front of them, and maybe he's innocent. How stupid. Okay, maybe he's innocent. I'll give him these youth. But honestly, he asked for a better reason for them to go after him.
You're saying, of course, that there is an erotic theme here of which he himself may be unaware, but he should be. If it's so transparent that the fact that he's not aware is also a problem about Joseph. Never thought of that. Gosh. Maya? It's the hubris. Yeah. Right. Making himself larger. Scott?
Will there now be a rating at the beginning of streaming recording?
Say that again. Yeah, that's right. Don't let your children sit there with you this morning. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Very good. The sheaves. I never thought of that. Gosh. Yeah, exactly. Oh, gosh. If I'm invited to come to the 4th grade and talk about the story, I'm going to say no. All right. Gosh, I'm so embarrassed at this point. How great. Okay, I thought it's, yeah, Vivian.
We never talk about the flock here, but they're all shepherds, and that's a pretty rowdy crowd right there.
Okay.
Back to your
Yeah.
analogies.
Okay. So the context is also.
We just don't think in terms of the flock.
Mm-hmm.
The religion we may, but I think
Okay.
it's interesting to ground some of the story in that very physical space.
Interesting.
Comment on
So.
ruminating.
Yeah. We're seeing the rawness of the story as opposed to high civilization. Something like that.
Just curious.
Let's take a 10-minute break for the rabbi to recover. No, that's great. That's great. Wow, we're not into verse 5 yet. And we're not going to be for another couple of minutes. David.
Well, so I want to take this in another direction.
Please.
The thing about dreams is that
thing that what, David?
about dreams.
About dreams.
Is that most of us don't remember our dreams.
Mm,
In fact, I think all of us don't remember most of our dreams.
okay.
The way dreams generally work, you wake up and it starts to be erased from your memory
Yeah.
almost immediately. It's very unusual when someone has a dream that they remember.
Yeah.
And that's often very significant. I remember as a child having a dream that was so real to me that I insisted that it happened to my parents.
Yes.
In spite of the fact that they said, it is impossible that this actually happened.
Mm.
And so what I want to say is that when you have a dream that's very detailed and that stays in your memory
Yes.
for a long time after you awaken, it's not so unusual that you would want to tell it to other people. And so I'm saying that in the sense of Joseph, that he had this profound dream, which, as we know, when we get far enough into the story, was extremely important.
Of course.
It was telling what's actually going to happen.
That's a very interesting point. So the very fact that he remembers it in order to tell it in detail is a sign of its significance to him. But let's also, in this regard, make a distinction. Whereas, for example, in chapter 20 of Genesis, Avimelech has a dream which the Torah explicitly says is given by God. And so that dream has a kind of theological depth to it and veracity. These dreams are not represented as coming from God. So that the importance, look, if Avimelech remembers the dream and we said to him, what makes it so important? He would say, well, I was inspired by God. That dream was sent. What would Joseph say? Joseph couldn't say, or at least according to the plain meaning of this story, this comes from God, and therefore that's the weightiness of the dream. These are his own dreams. In a certain sense, this is a secular moment that the dreams bubble up from below and don't come from behind. And that is all the more an indictment of Joseph.
But the dreams do come from God.
I'm sorry?
But the dreams do come from God.
Not according to this story.
The story doesn't say where the dreams come from, but the dreams are true.
The fact that the dreams are true is a different story. That's true. The dreams come to be true, but they're represented here as coming only from Joseph. And I think my sense is that this is something deliberate on the part of the author, who could easily have said, this is another one of those divinely inspired dreams. I think this adds to the indictment of Joseph's narcissism, because he remembers it because they are so important a sign about who he is, the chosen son. So it's true that there are three pairs of dreams in this story, which in a certain way are the superstructure of the story. Joseph's two, Pharaoh's two, the butler and the baker's two. And they do come to pass. But here, the author, I'm going to go out on the limb, deliberately avoids saying they come from God.
Because Joseph doesn't know they come from God.
Okay.
Joseph does not. And he learns that late in his life.
Yeah.
When he talks to his brothers,
Mm-hmm.
he is aware of the fact that these dreams came from God.
Yeah. So that's an interesting point. So Aviva Zornberg, the beginning of Desire, her commentary on Genesis, says that is Joseph's therapeutic narrative, that he knows that the story he's telling his brothers is not true, but that he's doing it in order to heal the family rift. That's her view of it. So, look, obviously, portent hovers over this story. And we'll see it very explicitly in a few seconds. You remember when Abraham sent Eliezer, it's not announced as Eliezer, his servant, to go get a wife for Isaac. And the servant says, as he's traveling, he says to God, please give me a sign that this is the right person. That when I ask for water, she'll give it to, and she'll add, and for your camels too. That's the sign by which I'll know that she is the one. And then the Torah says immediately, before he had finished asking this, there she comes. So this is a Twilight Zone moment, isn't it? Where there's the inbreaking of some master plan at work here, which always hovers over this very secular story. This is a very secular story with intimations of what David is suggesting here, that something more is happening. Just as we sense, don't we, in some sense or another, when we found our vocation, that somehow this was meant to be, I was meant to do this, and so on. So we do have that intimation that something else might be going on, even though it's not explicitly said. Malcolm?
I just want to make a comment about your reference to this being a secular story.
Uh-huh.
There's a very large canvas in the Art Museum which illustrates Jacob and Rachel and their entourage. And Laban has confronted them in this pastoral or countryside setting about Rachel stealing Laban's gods.
Yes.
He has God's idols.
Yes.
And she has disguised them. Jacob is successful in convincing Laban that no, Rachel has not taken them, and peace is made. But Jacob is, maybe I'm giving him more sympathy than he deserves, but he's in the midst of all sorts of competitions and entanglements and trying to keep peace in the family and provide for this future.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
That painting, to me,
Captures
speaks to
it.
that.
Well, you've pointed to the twofoldness of Jacob. It's totally enmeshed in the complexities, the problems of dealing with others and so on, while also, as you say, trying to project a future. So there's that idea. By secular story, I mean this is a story in which God really is not explicitly present at all. Of course, the author is making this part of, let's call it the Heilsgeschichtliche idea here, the history of salvation. This is on the road to something cosmic. So the editor, the author, is certainly thinking of this as having that valence, but the players in the story only rarely refer to God. Steve?
The counterpoint to that
Uh-huh.
is out of Joseph's mouth himself.
Yeah.
He is in Egypt, and Pharaoh is inquiring as to how he can do all of this dream interpretation, and he says, it's not me,
Yeah.
it's God.
Yeah.
And at least at that point,
Yeah.
Joseph must have realized God's communicating to him through either his dreams
Right.
or the dreams of the people he's interacting with.
Right.
And so he understands
Right.
this is part of God's plan.
Yeah. Now that's an important point. So explicitly, Joseph refers to God's revelation. I would counter, not 100%. I mean, one cannot disregard what you've said, nor can you disregard the overlay, the unstated overlay of the author-editor. But I think by and large, the causal forces in this story are human. what drives the story by and large is human motivation. Of course, it figures into a larger picture. Jacob as Israel hovers over the story. Okay, so, Vivian?
I'm just, Steve just pointed out to me, when Joseph is in prison there, and then he comes out to interpret Pharaoh's dreams, nothing good has happened to him yet.
No.
Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, he's giving God credit. It's really interesting.
Okay.
I mean, where did God come from in all this?
Yeah.
You never hear God's name, God's
No.
presence in anything that happened to Joseph before that.
Yeah. So Joseph has a God consciousness, you're saying. Good. Great. And Joseph is known to the tradition as Yosef HaTzadik. So Joseph is more highly regarded by the, no, I'm going down the wrong path here, that the tradition tends to import, you'll probably disagree with this word, some larger theological idea. Obviously, the theological framework here is obvious. This is part of the story of the people who are called by God. But I'm suggesting, and I don't want to insist too much on it, that somehow what the editor has made paramount, the story itself does not feature very often. Yeah.
Maybe what you needed was the importance in part. This thought.
Right, in a variety of ways. One of which is its placement in the larger narrative, of course. And even this notion of can the people survive in Egypt, that always, I think it looms over this story, and so on. So, okay, so, yeah, David.
So one last point about this. How are we, the readers, supposed to view the dreams? There are a couple of choices that we could make.
Yes.
One is that it's magic.
Mm-hmm.
And magic is really antithetical to our religion.
Mm-hmm. Other forces than God.
I'm sorry?
Other cosmic forces than God.
Right. And so I'm quite sure that that's not the intent of the author in telling the story.
Yeah,
We know that these dreams are going to come true.
yes.
And so if we are not to interpret them as magic, then we're really being let in on the secret that Joseph has yet learned, which is that these dreams are God's word.
Yeah, you meant it for evil, he says to the brothers, but God meant it for good. Sure, right. I think of it, frankly, as a little more mysteriously than that. That it's the mystery of, yes, some divine force in history, but also the charisma, the gifts that human beings have to work through their own problems. Now, the very word charisma means that you've been given something. And we have been given something. The capacity to work out our problems. One can call that a divine gift. One can also call it the genius of the human spirit. And in some ways, one of the things that I love about this story, especially when the climactic story of Judah pleading with Joseph, and Joseph breaking down, this is, to me, the transformation of these individuals. Steve's point, the growth. Here is Joseph's totally narcissistic and self-involved, and he's able to break out of that and really come to empathize. It's empathy with what his father is going through. I see this fundamentally as a human achievement. This is a story of human achievement, of struggle. Sure, there's this penumbra, I want to call it, of of divinity. It's in this book, after all, and it's alluded to. So to me, there's a mystery of two causal forces, something divine and something human. And this is a story, I think, that focuses on the human. At least that's my view of it. Yeah. Wow. It's as great a novel as has ever been written, isn't it? It's a struggle for how human beings confront the realities we all experience one way or another and survive and thrive.
Can I share your side here? You've given us a mosaic of descriptions of the story.
Yes.
And I think listening to all the voices in this room and very passionate fans,
Yes.
it seems we are knocking at the door of our creation story. It is a creation story.
Okay.
And I don't mean from Adam.
Yes.
Maybe.
Creation of a people.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, we are referred to as, we go from, I'm going to go from the shepherds and the flock, the sheep,
Yeah.
following,
Yeah.
various motivations,
Yeah.
instructions,
Yeah.
inspirations, what have you, existential circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
to your last words of the Torah, as you indicated, and they rose. I mean, if you look at all the iterations of that story, why not look at it with that ribbon, which I think you've said in many ways,
What is the ribbon?
that they are all tied together.
They're tied together.
That they have built upon millennia, but they tie together and they still apply.
So, I'm staring in the face by this repeat the questions, which so far I haven't done. Let me start at the beginning and repeat all the questions. So, okay, I'm going to try a little bit. So what Vivian is suggesting here is that there is a comprehensive master narrative here.
I'd love to see the thesis, or it's an existential story, it's our story.
Well, the thesis is we can survive.
Yes, you say that.
Yeah. Through a combination of divine grace, we might say, and human creativity, human persistence. And the last words, and they went up to you as emblematic in a way
I'm not
of,
suggesting, and
Yeah.
this is all metaphor in my head.
is it,
It's a story.
yeah, it's not metaphor for the author, is it?
Will the authors, what time and place, we
Yeah.
know, we have a good history of our authors,
Yeah, yeah,
but we're still putting them together in
yes, we
our
are.
own fashion.
That's the truth. Well, okay, here we are in verse 2. All right, where the heck are we? Verse 5. Once Joseph had a dream, which he, gosh, I remember reading this recently. And which he told to his brothers, and they hated him even more. He said to them, "Hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were binding sheaves in the field." I'll never see the word sheaves again without. When suddenly my sheaf stood up and remained upright. Then your sheaves gathered around and bowed low to my sheaf. And by the way, Robert Alter makes a very interesting point here about verse 7. The word hine, which means behold, look, or wow, wait a minute, pause, don't go on, notice this, is uttered 3 times in this verse. Hine anachnu ma'almim alumim. Look, we were binding sheaves betoch hasadeh, in the midst of the field. V'hine, and look, kama alumati my sheaf stood up, vagam nitzava, and also stood up. Right? I mean, Joseph is really in awe. Something has happened in him. V'hinei, and by the way, Tisubena and so on, your sheaves surrounded my sheaf. Not only Tisubena and surrounded, but Tishtachavenu, and they bowed down. So Joseph is stunned by this dream, which he takes as the real reality for him. I mean, his sense of awe, his sense of wonder is brought out by the repetition of this word of wonder, v'hinei. Yeah. Hineni. Also, look, I'm here. Yeah. Luther says this, doesn't he? Here I stand, which is his hineni. So verse 8, his brothers answered, do you mean to reign over us? Do you mean to rule over us? And they hated him even more for his talk about his dreams. Alter also makes a nice point here. There is a process in the Hebrew language known as a hendiadys. Rather than saying X and Y, you take X as the adjective for Y. So the first verses of Genesis, tohu vavohu, formless and void. Tohu and tohu vavohu, which is often translated a formless void. Okay? So out of two things, one thing is made. One thing with an adjective. Here in verse 8, and they hated him even more, Oto, al chalomotav, for his dreams, va'al devarav, and for his talk. They hate him for two things, not as the translation is, for his talk about his dreams. That's one thing. Okay? So that the Hebrew gives emphasis to what they hate about him. What he is that in there too?
Friedman translates it more accurately.
Well, okay, very, very good. So they hate him not only for his dreams, but that he could dare to tell them, about those dreams. What does it say about him? So the author is really driving home a powerful point of Joseph's self-involvement. And look what he is going to become as we follow this story. So he dreamed another dream. V'yachalom od hachalom. He had another dream. And he told it to his brothers, saying, look, I've had another dream. And this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars were bowing down to me. Alter also says that this is bordering on blasphemy, that the heavenly bodies are even bowing down to me. And when he told it to his father and his brothers, his father berated him. What he said to him is, this dream that you have dreamed, are we to come, I and your mother and your brothers, and bow low to you to the ground? So his brothers were wrought up at him, and his father kept the matter in mind. You see, there's another Twilight Zone moment, isn't it? And the reversal of noun and verb happens here too. Va'aviv shamar. And his father kept the matter in mind. Not vayishmor aviv. Okay? So the author, through this grammatical reversal, is also pointing out that this is a hine moment for Jacob. Wait a minute, what is going on here? Which I think supports David's idea that these dreams are divinely inspired. That may be what Jacob is wondering about. Is this the very truth of things and not just what this bratty son of mine is thinking about? It's another moment when something mysterious is breaking through into the narrative on the ground. You see this? I mean, the author is really, without being explicit, making it possible for us to see some other reality is hovering over this story.
The
Steve.
more you push this point about keeping the matter in mind, the more it's an indictment of Jacob when he sends Joseph out to Shechem.
No question.
To see his brothers.
No question, exactly. So that's right. So, I mean, Steve's making a good point about how the indictment of Jacob becomes intensified here, which has it's not only about Jacob, but it's about whether or not the brothers throughout the drama of this story can regard Jacob more highly than he might deserve. I mean, the whole reconciliation of this story, I mean, we're ahead of the game here, but when Judah pleads with Joseph, on what grounds? What will happen to our father if Benjamin doesn't come back? So this is the moment of self-transcendence of both Joseph and Judah, which is representing the brothers, for this father who has really not been a very good father. So once again, it's the issue of there's a value here at work along with the deep problematics of highly regarding that value. A flawed people, nevertheless a people of promise. A flawed father, nevertheless one for whom we have to try to reconcile our sibling rivalry. It's something of a paradox. It's the afal pichein. It's the nevertheless part of this story, and the story of the Jewish tradition. Even though the Messiah tarries, so to speak, but yet I will wait for him. Even though this story is deeply problematic, still it's our story and the story of promise. What, Scott?
Okay, if you, Jacob, keeping this matter in mind as becoming aware of the tension between the brothers,
Yeah.
then yes, it's an indictment. However,
Yes.
if you do it the way you suggested, that Jacob's becoming aware that there may be some more mysterious divine intervention. Be
Yeah.
explicit about it, that there's a divine intervention here.
Yeah.
He may think that it may not be so much the relationship of the brothers that he's keeping in mind. He may be keeping in mind that these dreams may signify something.
Yeah.
There may be a plan at play here, and I'm going to kind of go with that.
No, I like that. Right, that Jacob is, aside from being a very problematic father, sending the boys out now after all of this, nevertheless, he may have an intimation. There may be part of his consciousness that enables him to think transcendentally. And you know, if I'm writing that sentence, and they hated him even more, no. Verse 11. So his brothers were wrought up at him, and his father was upset as well. That's how I would write it. And nobody would want to talk about that sentence. Right? But the father, I mean, think of the authorial imagination here. And the father kept the matter in mind. You know, if that phrase comes to me as I'm writing this story, I'm saying to myself, gosh, am I great here or what? I mean, I'm reintroducing mystery. What is going to happen? It drives the narrative, but it also points to another layer of reality. What is happening here? Maya?
So, another way to look at it, Jacob all of a sudden said, maybe I made a mistake that I favor this kid as to put him in place.
Yeah. So that's another layer of keeping the matter in mind. Self-scrutiny. I'm wondering if I'm doing the right thing. Or maybe as Abraham's servant when he goes to get Rebekah. Wow, what is happening here? Yeah, good. Okay, so But in any event, let's not lose the point here that there's something on the surface of the story, something really problematic about Jacob that he's sending the boys out. Okay, so one time, verse 12, when his brothers had gone to pasture their father's flock at Shechem, Israel said to Joseph, your brothers are pasturing in Shechem. Come, I will send you to them. And he answered, I'm ready. Is that another Hineni? Verse 13. Yeah, Hineni, right. And he said to him, go and see how your brothers are and how the flocks are faring, and bring me back word. So he sent him from the valley of Hebron. When he had reached Shechem, a man came upon him wandering in the fields, and the man asked him, what are you looking for? And he answered, I'm looking for my brothers. Could you tell me where they are pasturing? And the man said, they've gone from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dotan. What? Just happens upon a guy who knows what they're doing. So it's another one of those moments. If I'm writing this story now, I have a footnote, and the footnote says, now pay attention to what I've just said here, right? The author just says it and counts on the reader to feel the power of this mystery. Some story is at work here. Vivian?
I just wanted to point out that in verse 13, it's Israel that sends Joseph out.
And?
Jacob.
And what do you mean by that?
I think the author is making a point here.
That this is the destiny part.
Yeah. This is the second time it's happened.
Okay, very
First
good.
time we get the feeling it was Jacob.
Very good, very good.
It's Israel.
The hero here, I want to suggest, is the author. Isn't it true, though? The author has seduced us to think that this is not an ordinary story. The author hasn't said, by the way, this is not an ordinary story. That's how I would do it. Now pay attention, folks, because I don't have confidence in myself for this, so I need to alert the reader. It's like Mozart. Mozart makes a little move, and he moves on. And said, please do it again. You're counting on me to get it right here at this moment. Wagner solved that problem. He said it again. Okay, gloriously, I might add. Okay, so the man said, verse 17, they've gone from here, for I heard them say, let us go to Dotan. So Joseph followed his brothers and found them in Dotan. And they saw him from afar, and before he came close to them, they conspired to kill him. And they said to one another, here comes that dreamer. Come now, let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits. So Alter again makes an interesting point on let us kill him and throw him into a pit. He translates throw as fling. Let us kill him and fling him, and as a sign of this intense, increased violence. They're not only killing, shedding blood, which you remember in the Noah story is a capital crime, but now they're going to treat his body as just some piece of matter, okay, for how enraged the brothers are. Let us kill him and throw him into one of the pits, and we can say a savage beast devoured him. We shall see what will come of his dreams. And they're right. If they do this and pull it off, story's over. But when Reuben, so now the drama of the story is intensified. Could this be the end? Of course, we know it's not the end, but for the brothers, this might end that episode. But when Reuben heard it, he tried to save him from them. And he said, let us not take his life. And Reuben went on, shed no blood, cast him into that pit in the wilderness, but don't touch him yourselves, intending to save him from them and restore him to his father. Here's always my question about this moment. Why, Reuben is a hero here. Why doesn't Reuben get more credit? Don't you think? So, I mean, really, he doesn't want to hurt him, and he wants to restore him to his father. Thank God, for the story's sake, Reuben doesn't prevail. It's a little bit of dramatic irony. What that one person wants for good would stop the story. Arthur?
Let's just say this thing with the man and Dothan. It's one of my favorite passages in any literature. It's so packed with mystery. I never noticed this before, but the verse begins by saying the man found Joseph.
The man, does it say, found Joseph? The man asked him. A man came upon him wandering the fields.
But it's up to you.
I'm sorry?
The
Sorry?
religious one.
Inside, yeah.
But, you know, if I'm Joseph and I'm lost, I will find the person to get directions. People don't usually pop out of nowhere and give you directions. So there's some mystery there, too, that is, to me, the Ish is like the angel that Israel.
Oh, a man found him. I see what you're saying. Okay. And what's the point here? What?
So the Ish, like, is
The
the same
man.
as the angel that Israel struggles with. So this Ish finds Joseph. There's something at work here.
Yes, of course.
It's not Joseph looking for direction.
That's a good point.
The world's giving Joseph, is pointing Joseph.
So what verse is this? 15. A man came upon him. Oh, that's an interesting point. The translation doesn't capture it. A man came upon him. A man found him, as if he was a messenger to find him.
Which is very strange. There's strangeness in the death of the story.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Absolutely. I mean, strangeness is one of the motifs of this whole story, isn't it? Something strange. This is not just an ordinary story, obviously. I mean, for reading this book, but the details vindicate that idea. It's not just because it's this book, it's strange, but the author deliberately. Chad?
Can I add a footnote and no religious significance? Jacob is making Jonah do a lot of walking. If you look at the map, Hebron to Shechem is 66 miles.
Okay.
Shechem to Dothan is 39 miles.
Okay, very good.
There's a follow the way in
So what's the point here?
a lot of ways. It's kind of hard to believe that somebody walked over.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
That's why I said it's a no sin.
That's why you say what? That's a footnote. Yeah. Okay. That's another strange thing in the story in a way. Yeah. Okay, very good. All right, Cindy?
Maybe Reuben is not made into a hero because he's deflecting the guilt of death from him and the brothers and putting it on the lion or the beast. Because putting him in the pit does not save him and bring him back to the father in his mind. It's just that the guilt is on the poor lion or whatever beast is going to consume him.
Okay. So you're saying that Reuben, I may have been implying that Reuben is something of a hero, but he's not.
But it says that he wants to save.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Intending to save him, verse 22, from them and restore him to his...
He may be rationalizing him because he's putting him in the pit. He's not saying, take him out of the pit.
Yeah. So he's making him vulnerable.
Yes.
He may have some good intention, but he's not bringing that to realization very well.
And deflecting the guilt that would be imposed on the brothers if they saw that,
Ah.
if Jacob saw that it had slash marks or whatever.
Well, and that's what the brothers are going to do. They're going to bring a bloody coat of many colors. All right, let's go on a little bit. Verse 23, when Joseph came up to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the ornamented tunic that he was wearing. And they took him and cast him into the pit. The pit was empty. There was no water in it. Okay, and the rabbis make a big deal out of this. It's a redundancy. Hey, if the pit is empty, there's no water in it. What do you... and I think they say, but there were scorpions. So it wasn't just that they were putting him in a place that wasn't dangerous, maybe a holding place to decide what to do. So the rabbis went, Then they sat down to a meal. Looking up, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead, their camels bearing gum balm, laden them to be taken to Egypt. By the way, when the brothers finally come down to Egypt for the second time with gifts, they're carrying just these things, exactly the same things. It's kind of repetition with an alteration. Then Judah said to his brothers, "What do we gain by killing our brother and covering up his blood? Come, let us sell him to the Ishmaelites, but let us not do away with him ourselves. After all, he's our brother, our own flesh." That's pretty flimsy, isn't it? Let's sell him to strangers because he's our flesh. Let's not hurt him. His brothers agreed. When Midianite traders passed by, so you can see here, Ishmaelites and Midianites, and this is a moment for the scholars of the source criticism to say that this is a conflation of two different stories. One has Ishmaelites, one has Midianites, and there's an attempt to reconcile it in a minute. When Midianite traders passed by, they pulled Joseph out of the pit. They sold Joseph for 20 pieces of silver to the Ishmaelites who brought Joseph to Egypt. So the history of this story, just to say it as these people of the different sources, there are two stories, one featuring Ishmaelites, one featuring Midianites, but there is a reconciliation by yet another author who has the Midianites sell it to the Ishmaelites. Okay, it's really one story, that third person would say. When Reuben returned to the pit and saw that Joseph was not in the pit, he rent his clothes. Returning to his brothers, he said, "The boy is gone. Now what am I to do?" Then they took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a kid, and dipped the tunic in blood. I'm just wondering here, Reuben is not innocent, but on the other hand, he does have some benign motivations. It's not that he's totally malevolent. And you wonder because, look, it turns out that Judah is the one who saves the day, the ancestor of King David, I might say. But he's the fourth son. Reuben's the first son. So it strikes me that perhaps the Reuben elements in this story are the remnants of a prior story in which Reuben is lionized to some degree as the firstborn son. I don't know. It seems to me I see another kind of a motif in here that has been submerged. Then, verse 31, they took Joseph's tunic, slaughtered a kid, dipped the tunic in the blood. They had the ornamented tunic taken to their father, and they said, "We found this. Please examine it. Is this your son's tunic or not?" And he recognized it and said, "My son's tunic, a savage beast devoured him. Joseph was torn by a beast." So Jacob rent his clothes, put sackcloth on his loins, and observed mourning for his son many days. All his sons and daughters sought to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted, saying, "No, I'll go down mourning to my son in Sheol." Thus his father bewailed him. The Midianites, meanwhile, sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh and his chief steward. And there that story ends. So then we have chapter 38, which is a different story. This is the story of Judah and Tamar, and it seems like a digression. And scholars of Ephraim Spicer, who is a commentator on the Bible and an Orientalist, calls this a digression. And I think he says that this is the editor's way of pausing the story midway to heighten the tension. What is going to happen here? What's going to come next? Alter's view, with which I agree, is that in some superficial sense this is a digression, but it really is fundamental to the story because it prepares Judah. So let's skip the story, continue with the narrative of Joseph, and come back to it before we reach the climax of the Joseph story to put the two together. So, chapter 39. This is what scholars call resumptive repetition. Because the editor now knows that a story has come in between here, that the author has to say, remember what happened before we interrupted the flow of the story. So essentially, he says in the first verse of 39 what he said in the last verse of 37. When Joseph was taken down to Egypt, a certain Egyptian Potiphar, a courtier of Pharaoh and his chief steward, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him there. The Lord was with Joseph. Okay, so here's a non-secular moment, just to test my own thesis here. I mean, the more of these we have, the weaker my thesis becomes. I'm not afraid. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man. That's a big statement, isn't it? He stayed in the house of his Egyptian master, and when his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord lent success to everything he undertook, he took a liking to Joseph, and he made him his personal attendant and put him in charge of his household, placing in his hands all that he owned. So Joseph here is competent and able to pull off tasks that are given to him, whether it comes from his own gifts or that the Lord is with him. I mean, the author says the latter. And from the time that the Egyptian put him in charge of his household and of all that he owned, the Lord blessed his house for Joseph's sake, so that the blessing of the Lord was upon everything that he owned, in the house and on the outside. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hands, and with him there he paid no attention. He paid attention to nothing save the food that he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. Vayihi Yosef Yefei Toar, and so on. After a time, his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, "Lie with me." But he refused. He said to his master's wife, Look with me here, my master gives no thought to anything in his house, and all that he owns he has placed in my hands. He wields no more authority in this house than I do, and he has held nothing from me except you yourself, since you are his wife. How then could I do this most wicked thing and sin before God? Okay, God-fearing man. And much as she coaxed Joseph day after day, he did not yield to her request to lie beside her, to be with her. It's another erotic story, which I think lends some credence, Diane, to your allusion to the sheaves, that eroticism, in a sense, trails this story in some way or another. Please.
I have more. So, that there was a painting on the wall in Potiphar's wife's chambers. Sorry?
I said boudoir.
Boudoir, yes. And that when Joseph glanced at it, what he saw, whether that was true or not what it was, but what he saw was his mother looking down on him.
Wow.
And that's when he decided, oh, I can't do this.
Wow.
Because mom's watching.
How about that? Potiphar's wife has a picture of Joseph's mother.
Probably not, but that's what Joseph thought he saw.
That's what the Midrash says. I'm sure when they were sitting, the Darshanim were sitting around the table. And one guy said, let's make the picture. Are you kidding me? Now that is implausible.
But so much fun.
But a lot of fun, yeah. Well, it's a picturesque evocation of his conscience, as he remembers the admonitions of his parents. Proverbs, listen to the sayings of your father and the warnings of your mother. I like it. All right, let's go on a little bit and then we'll stop. So, one such day he came into the house to do his work, none of the household being there inside. She caught hold of him by his garment and said, lie with me. But he left his garment in her hand and got away and fled outside. I love that image, right? It's a very powerful image of fleeing from his coat. Joseph's coat.
Another coat.
Another coat. Right. Right, it's not, yeah. The unornamented tunic. And when she saw that he had left it in her hand and had fled outside, she called out to her servant and said to them, "Look, he had to bring us a Hebrew to dally with us." Hebrew here being a sign of a word of derision, lower class. "This one came to lie with me, but I screamed loud, and when he heard me screaming at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and got away and fled outside. She kept his garment beside her until her master came home. Then she told him the same story, saying, 'The Hebrew slave who you brought into our house came to me and to dally with me. But when I screamed at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and fled outside.' When his master heard the story that his wife told him, namely, 'Thus and so your slave did to me,' he was furious. So Joseph's master had him put in prison where the king's prisoners were confined. But even while he was there in prison, the Lord was with Joseph." You know, the author here is really rubbing it into me, isn't he?
Rabbi, the leaving of the garment
Yes.
is parallel with the Tamar story in Judah. Leaving the cloak and the staff, etc.
Love it.
But in one case, the woman is righteous, and in the other case, the woman is not.
That's a very good point. And both are not Hebrews. But Tamar, yeah, a huge hero in the story, no doubt. That's a good point. The echoes. And Alter, in his book, The Art of Biblical Narrative, points out a lot of these parallels. Arthur?
So Potiphar's wife uses the same word in accusation that Sarah makes against Ishmael.
Oh, really?
Yeah, litzachek. Sarah says he's litzacheking with
Okay.
Isaac, and
But he's
Potiphar's wife
sporting with me.
says, "He tried to litzachek with me."
Yes,
And
okay.
it's the name of one of our patriarchs, the accusation.
No, that's an interesting point. You make something of that?
Well, I think it's against our type, but, it's an argument against laughter.
Oh, it's an argument against laughter.
But it also retrojects to the Isaac story, that it's something sexual.
Okay.
Ishmael
Ishmael and Isaac.
Yeah.
That was something sexually involved.
Oh, that's good.
The
It's sporting.
story, using the same word,
Yeah.
could have many colors, but this sort of
Point.
tells us it was something sexual.
Sporting, right. And of course, that story, especially when Isaac is born, this is laughter to me. It plays on the multiple meanings of litzchok
I guess
or
it makes me
litzachik.
wonder why was Isaac's name chosen? Why was that word chosen for the patriarch?
Yeah, why was he given that name? Wasn't that his name?
Yeah.
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah. What other choice did he have?
Exactly. Yeah, right. That interesting, though. That is a multivalence word, no doubt. Very good. No, I have not noticed that. Okay, so verse 16. Let's rush to the finish here. She kept his garment beside her until his master came in, and she told him the same story. The Hebrew slave you brought into the house came to me to dally with me. Okay. But when I screamed at the top of my voice, he left his garment with me and fled outside. When his master heard the story that his wife had told him, namely, 'Thus and so your slave did to me,' he was furious. So Joseph's master had him put in prison where the king's prisoners were confined. But even while he was there in prison, the Lord was with Joseph. He extended kindness to him and disposed the chief jailer favorably toward him. God is really playing an interceding here at points in this story. The chief jailer put in Joseph's charge all the prisoners who were in that prison. And he was the one to carry out everything that was done there. Yeah. This may sound like special pleading, but I'm going to say it anyway. I mean, we see that Joseph is extremely well endowed with a moral compass, with competence. He's put in charge of everything. So when, you're not going to go buy this? But you wonder whether or not there isn't a kind of dual causality here. I mean, that God was with him and made things go well can't be denied, obviously. But it also seems to overlap. I mean, instead of being two things, it strikes me as possible that it's one thing, that our endowments, our capacities, our virtues, they're our accomplishments, but also they have something to do with God's endowment. I mean, I have eyes to see what I do with, let's take a better example, hands with which to reach out to somebody. So the reaching out is me, but the capacity to reach out, the gift of hands, is not of my creation. So that I am given everything I do, say with these hands or with these lips, give comfort to somebody. There's a dual causality at work, isn't there, from a theological point of view, that what I do with them is my business. Joseph did this. But also, whatever I do is the result of something that was given to me that allows me to do it. So instead of two things, is it possible to look at one thing as having two components to it? That God is involved even in our most secular activities? Because when I hit a curveball, that's me. I rarely did that, by the way. But the capacity to do it is not me. That Maya?
I'm just thinking that this last ending confirms that the dreams that he was dreaming were, after all, by God given.
Okay.
Because God gave him the possibility to rule over Potiphar, to rule over the prison. So going back.
Yeah, the question is, I guess for me, how significant to the author is that? Because the author is really showing us human motivation in action. Joseph is making decisions. Of course, this is not merely a secular story, but there's not a lot of reference to miracle and so on. It's as if it overlays the story.
But it's a divine decree after all.
It's divine decree. Yeah, right. Yeah. Steve?
We started much earlier talking about ego and how it's all egocentric.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're introducing the idea that it's not just all
Mm-hmm.
that it's God. And also, there's also the element of not only do I love myself, but I want others to love me. So,
I don't get that point you just made.
well, earlier it was, I love myself and nothing of the rest of the world matters. And now we're saying, well, it's not just me, but it's God. But the love that you want from others, and this is brotherly love and so on, is sort of the other element that's sort of swirling around this story. Love of self, love of God, love of others, and the desire to have the love of others.
Who is bringing God into this story? Is it Joseph? Somewhat?
Mostly the narrator is telling us.
Okay, so, yeah. That qualifies the point a bit, doesn't it? That the narrator certainly is a theologian. Is Joseph? Yes? Not yet. Okay, not yet. Okay, very good. Unless Aviva Zornberg's point is right, that this is a therapeutic narrative, we'll have to see, I think as a challenge to us. It's clear that the narrator is a theologian. What does is Joseph a secular, I don't mean that negatively, does he recognizing human capacity and he brings to realization his endowment? Or does he himself feel that? So certainly the story gets there, but in what way, and how is it along the way?
Later on, with Potiphar's wife,
Yeah.
he says this would be sinning against God. So he's not totally secular.
There you go.
In verse 9.
Verse 9. How could I do this most wicked thing and sin before God? Okay. Very good. So let's think of this as a motif that tracks itself. Somehow it strikes me, here's my predilection, to see these stories also as the exploration of human capacity. A part of what animates us is some belief set, but isn't there kind of an appreciation of the robustness of human nature to confront our problems and to deal with them? That strikes me as without constantly saying God is doing this, God is doing that. And my premise is under some assault. I recognize that. Hey, that's okay. I mean, I'd like to try to get to the deeper truth of what's going on here. So this thesis and antithesis is important. Okay, so let's stop. We'll come back in 2 weeks and track the career of Joseph. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Yeah.
Well, this one I'm sure is. When you made the comment about never encountered an ego that was peripheral.
Yeah.
Who said that?
E. Cummings.
E. Cummings, excellent.
Yeah. By the way, his
autobiography,
which is have the title I with a colon 6
right.
Take a look at it.
Okay.
First couple of lectures are scintillating.
Yeah, really. I like that one. Okay, now the resumptive chapter 39, where it says the Lord was with Joseph, and shortly after it says his master saw that the Lord was with him. What's the exact Hebrew verb there? We're using was, and that's a pretty nebulous verb.
Oh yeah, no, the verb is not there.
More, what I'm curious is it more indicative of here's what I wrote, indicative of a process occurring, like an evolution of Joseph's relationship with God? Or is there anything that hints at that or not? That things have changed between them. Joseph grew up, that sort of thing.
I don't know, actually. The Lord, verse 2, yeah. Well, the Hebrew word vayahi, which is a state of being verb. Haya is was. It is a was, yeah. The Lord was with Joseph.
Okay, and then a couple of verses later, when his master, so Potiphar sees that the Lord was with him. Is it the same verb there as well?
Where is that?
It's just like shortly, the sentence after.
Oh, and his master saw that the Lord, it doesn't have a was there, but ki Adonai, ito, with him.
So just recognize that sort of, okay.
Right.
All right. Now, this one's going to be the tough one, and maybe it's a thing to get into another time, because it's a very unpopular thought. I've tried it several times. Your illustration of hands being a gift, and then the use of them being our choice.
Yeah.
Why does that not extend to the land of Israel? Why is that? Do we not have the ability to use that land in a way to bring that?
Oh, how we do it, sure. Oh, yeah, I think that's implicit. I mean, there are different kinds of Zionism. There's political Zionism. There's what we might call agricultural Zionism. We're there to get our hands dirty in the land. That's how one possesses a land. There's religious Zionism. There's also ethical Zionism.
Okay.
The light unto the nations idea, that we are there now to become autonomous, that is, guiders of our own destiny, which is to be a light unto the nations. Yeah, a model.
Okay.
And so, absolutely. I used to teach courses on Zionism.
There's a lot of resistance to that idea. Nope. It is what it is.
Well, I mean, while Israel is struggling for its existence, which has been from the beginning, we can't be all things to all people or fulfill this prophetic idea of returning to the land. Look, one hopes if Israel has a role in bringing peace to the region, in a way that will be the beginning or some climactic fulfillment of that idea.
Yeah, see, I mean, Reuben kind of demonstrates it. I mean, yes, he didn't act ideally. He didn't say, hey, it's our brother, let's bring him home and all's forgotten. No, he dealt with the circumstances the way they are. He did it sort of an ugly thing, but not as ugly as what his brothers wanted.
No, that's true.
So,
that's
it's
true.
a noble thing. Even
So,
though it isn't
right, and your point, I think, is a good one, that nobility, our capacity for nobility has something to do with the circumstances we find. A little gesture in difficult times would be...
I wish I would have phrased it that way. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Yes, you
yeah.
captured it exactly. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for
No problem.
great session.
Oh, good.
Except
Oh,
for
the story is really great.
Oh, yeah.
It's that time of year.
Oh, it really is. Excellent. Okay. And you know my MO.
Yeah.
In a month, I'll ask you for it
I
again.
made 20 copies.
Very, very good. So the Crushers,
It goes from west to east, Avon down to Akron,
this is Akron here,
right?
and
Rubber Ducks.
they don't indicate it at
Well,
all.
the Rubber Ducks. And also they play from April to September.
Okay. Okay, very good.
Lake
Oh,
County.
Lake County. We haven't done that for a while.
Right, and then,
Oh, you got another one.
oh yeah, we only did that, the flat tire trip out to Niles these are the scrappers,
These are this. Is this?
which is now what is it, like it's a college kids with wooden bat kind of league.
Wow.
You know, couldn't get them used to, I think that's what it is.
This is not Niles? Or?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. So what we're going to have to do?
When we went to Niles, it was part of the New York Penn League.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But now it's some, when they redid the minor leagues, they made it into something else.
So I'm going to have to, if we do this, first go out and get it. When we do it, I'll have to get myself a tire changing kit.
Exactly. So, as I understand it, Joseph becomes a tzaddik based on the Potiphar story, right?
The Potiphar story, yeah.
Not the whole rest of his life.
No, I guess so. That's true.
I mean, that is,
That's it.
they were searching.
They were searching.
And also because I suppose at least 2 or 3 acknowledgments of God, you don't do this if you. It sort of goes against her thing about his sheath. I mean, if he's a 23, 26-year-old guy and some lady offers himself to her like Mrs. Robinson did in Graduate,
yeah. He resists.
He resists.
That's very nice.
Yeah, and I think Reuben is a hero just as, David's plan A with Bathsheba was, I thought, a good pragmatic. Nobody gets hurt. Her husband goes home. Take a couple days off. Be with your wife. He goes back. She's pregnant. And obviously, and
Everything
it
works
worked out.
The fly in the ointment is Uriah's conscience.
Oh no, I'm right. I'm a soldier boy. I love this stuff.
I can't do
but
it.
I mean, that I'll give David credit. At least his initial reaction wasn't to put him in be the point person in Vietnam on patrol.
But on the other hand, Uriah might then think that the child, he's inseminated Bathsheba, David, right?
Yeah, she's pregnant.
She's pregnant. Right, he's pregnant.
And he wants Uriah to think it's his.
It's his. So that itself is a ruse. But not as bad.
Not as bad as killing him.
Well, your analogy to Reuben.
Yeah.
What he did was not laudable, but it wasn't.
And as Armin Pincus once pointed out,
Yeah.
despite everything, Reuben has the sandwich. So, his name
appears more places probably than Judah's does.
I don't remember
Oh, yeah,
that.
that was not in the first letter, it was in a
A subsequent letter.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'm inclined to want to repeat that to the group, but
But
I have to tell the whole story. I know you don't want.
Anyway, very good.
You can walk me out on that.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
It is a great story.
What you're mentioning regarding
Arms against the sea of trouble.
say about that.
Oh, yeah, or take my.
Have a happy investigation.
Again.
I just wanted, because we're out of time, and what he wanted to, the idea is how do we offer
Let's finalize a time for coffee, not right now, I'm gonna run, but if we can mix it back and forth, I think I will do that. Not yet, your car's still running, sorry, it's still in the garage.
Oh, really?
Well, so we'll text
What
you
do you
and
do?
figure out a time.
Can you use that? Yeah, yeah. When is your car supposed to be?
you know, I have been sort of in and out, just in, and right now during holidays, I'm gonna go ship and the weather, shipping. Sometimes you need a why, sure, what about 1 o'clock? So what is the meeting about? You know, you want to
It's the road.
and on what grounds are you contesting her?
I think she was manipulative. And for some reason, everybody in
understood calculus.
In the world
All
of
over the
medical
at the end of
It's
the
constant,
year.
and really slows down in so many
Do you?
ways.
What somebody said.
Whereas,
Listen, most of you guys are doctors. I don't know if this is your field. I used to get late. I don't get it.
I do foundation.
My cousin of mine told me to drink a lot of tonic.
Family foundation and a big one.
quinine,
Yeah, that's what I
is
meant.
in
That one.
tonic.
So anyway, apparently,
And so quinine had been used for many
Because
years
very
to
wealthy.
relax muscle fiber.
but the only point
So
that I can
very
get
wealthy
is,
people.
unless they sell it some other
They
place.
used to sell actually, quinidine
Yeah.
sulfate.
I'm
They used to,
know,
but the FDA
with,
has listed.
That,
So we're taking it off the market. Okay, so here's my question.
Well, that was one of their,
Sir John, through Marjorie's, met, Sue Evans, the farmer.
so actually, that's what I used to tell people is, if you like, if you get the tonic water, just have the gin, and that'll help you.
Oh, and then,
So my question is, now I gotta get the grant or get an actual wording.
whacked, totally whacked. His mother was whacked. And she did this thing about cars.
Yeah, no. When they come, it's very unpleasant.
Whatever.
I thought of
So
it.
she subscribed to she subscribed to all these. And I was teaching at Princeton at the seminary. And again, through the cardinal, blah, 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 wanted to meet the head of the Princeton Seminary, who was
Rub it on in
sure
there.
one
Or
So, he asked me to, he said, through Peter Grace and Margie Grace. And he was very smart, got down to at the time, which was probably something like $10 million, $20 million. Then, a lot. Just as an aside, when my mom died,
So as soon as I walked in,
2008, I very bravely took $10,000 of my savings and invested in Amazon when it was $104. I invested
So the deal is you gotta know the password to your master password,
when
which is,
3 days
not always,
after
not
I
the easiest thing to
invested,
do.
it shot up like
okay.
130.
Right,
Or
yeah, well,
I couldn't believe all the money I made. Totally naively, I thought, wow,
so she has a,
I could that will
so
invest
she has a nasty habit of listening to everyone but me. So was it,
And they
like
went up.
particularly her brother-in-law
And basically the
gives her all these
story
suggestions, so
is
she
a
goes,
winner.
well, okay, he must know his stuff, you know. So when things break down, he says,
So I now own
shit, well, his brother-in-law said, you know, that's, so I
$3
mean,
million
it's like,
goings.
you know, so what do you call it? I mean,
I mean, you know,
I am a hacker, you know.
Suppose I had
Right.
invested
I mean, you know,
I never
Right,
even thought of that. I'm so grateful I invested what I did.
that's my thing. Move
Well, the
something.
point is, Jim McCord,
Right, so like, you
got $10
don't, I mean,
million,
you now subscribe actually.
today's
In
dollars.
the old days,
I mean,
so well,
So they were
Netflix,
on
what
board.
I mean, you know.
It's a secret. What year was that?
Oh, yeah. I went to,
And then
The places.
my daughter went to London School of Economics, and she's in a business here in Cleveland. I think you're in a startup.
Yeah.
You have a startup.
I know, I had an artificial intelligence.
Oh, really? Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. We should do that with- in the game.
I have no idea.
Oh, how great.
This is the only time of year I eat the word.
Yeah, I am. Well, I'm interested in, AI. That's another thing, you know, I saw. My son told me, I said, I have to invest in this.
On the West Coast.
And my son said, Mom, you know, you hear about these things way after it's already peaked, you know, people have been in this now for a while. But it's doing for me, it's doing for, well enough.
That's a happy and healthy one too.
No, exactly.
Take care.
And if he gets this China deal,
Take care.
one,
Yeah. You say,
I mean, he's got a ways to go. He's doing well. The stock isn't performing as I hoped. I mean, it's in a little bit of a slump
Yeah.
right now, but
I'm not gonna, see, you're with on this meeting for 2 weeks. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but have a happy and healthy one.
thank you so much. Thanks, Lou.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Yeah, so I am interested.
Yeah.
And
So, well, I can tell you.
I want to hear. So, I need to get together with you
Roy Rogers.
about my phone.
I'm gonna get some water.
Oh, okay. Oh, could you get me some?
Yeah.
You know, Mike, I think it's running out there. Why don't we give her this one?
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, I mean, to get 300. I mean,
How is she?
we've, bannered about, trying to
Just put it back on.
work with another.
But I need it.
To get
Um,
more people to.
the top change for minutes and the new.
Michigan is notorious, and I think it's a couple of years ago. But, I would think, if we, if you and I were 20 years young, but I just don't have to get one drive and there, there's nothing. Yeah, but
Belt and suspenders.
Oh, good.
Indiana.
So I'll tell you,
West Virginia has a small meeting
Got rid of the
that
app.
spoken at years
And then
ago.
we installed it and then she was here.
Oh, okay.
12,
I do have an appointment with the guy on the 30th, but I'd love to talk with you before that.
outside of Wheeling, West Virginia.
I'll write you.
It's a lovely resort and
You do
golf.
have fillers, right?
Yes.
I'll share with you one
Oh,
digression
okay.
story that, and shortly after.
You know, it's
Susan
frustrating
and I
period,
married,
right? And then
Susan's
we left.
parents came to visit us.
She ended up
And we went to this.
throwing out the app and they made it legal.
Okay.
But anyway,
As
as
we're
we're
getting-
I will. I
See you,
will.
George.
Okay. Might as well, if you have a few minutes. Okay. So, AI and you. So start with San Francisco. It started there?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I can tell you the whole story if you want to.
Well, part one.
Yeah, so,
And if you're in town, we'll do coffee.
sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what we read about was that
Because then I can
they
go into
were
details.
protesting.
Oh, okay.
But,
There was.
Okay, so I'll get a
Middletown.
whole picture in summary and then
okay.
in detail.
So, you probably know,
How it
it's a lot of people do.
So they were
There's a shortage of nurses.
protests in different,
Particularly for
reasons to protest.
Hospitals.
Well, you know, I'm
Facilities for.
still tangentially at John Carroll's,
Pretty.
and we have a brand new nursing home,
Oh, yeah.
which is doing very well.
Yeah. So, do you happen to know what Ira Kaplan? I wasn't married. Growing Boston. So,
some, you know, unified.
Every patient's the same, every nurse is the same.
What we
In
can.
a ICU,
Monday
there's
evening,
one nurse
you
for
know,
every
I
two patients.
sent out to
And in the
Marissa,
surgery, which is the
or Tuesday,
Right.
Tuesday.
nurse for
Yeah. Yeah, now,
shortage
yeah,
of nurses,
yeah,
sometimes
I
it's
am,
1 to 6.
you know, I
one
just
to
did
8.
it
That's
outside, I haven't
basically
seen anything.
the rule of thumb that they
My
use.
email from her,
And what
but
happens is,
hopefully she'll
because
do it
not all
Monday.
patients are the same,
Set up the
nurses
Zoom
are the same.
Tuesday.
Some nurses end up with assignments that are overwhelming and too difficult.
I didn't, you know,
They get
in my
burnt out.
email to people, I said, you know, unless you
So it makes the
dissent,
shortage worse.
I'm going ahead and
Then
doing
they
this, so
refuse
I'm
to take
expecting
jobs.
that Ed and
Because they're just
the group,
forced to
Mark
shorten.
and Stacy are
It's a
available
check.
Tuesday. I haven't visited.
It's seriously just
Besides her
arguing on
well,
things.
she's got,
And
you know,
anybody
she's
comes
really,
Yes.
listen in the
It's
pediatric
abusive.
It's
lupus
abusive. It is
organization.
So what we're doing is we're using artificial intelligence to make the nurse-to-patient assignment
Yeah.
more rational. So,
And
Yeah,
what
I
you-
mean, I thought he'd be,
so with a cow
okay.
I don't know if he's traveling.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, he wasn't at all. Yeah, what, you're,
So that the nurses
well,
don't get those.
if it's just you and I, then it's just, you know.
They're not prepared for.
We're gonna hold this.
Yeah, and that's
All
the
the
thing,
information
we're,
from nurses and
nurses, respect
patients and so on,
to
and
Ed
we analyze all
is,
the patients, and we can figure out
eyes,
what characteristics of
I
nurses
understand, I actually
a
understand.
given patient needs and match those to the right nurse.
Excuse me, still getting those.
sure.
So that is what we're building. And
I understand sometimes
I have
more from
a
the
team of professors mostly.
Oh, sure, we all, yeah,
Best places in the world.
we all sort of,
Very
you know, as
economists,
Roger shared, you
computer
know, his
scientists,
own,
physicians,
you know,
nurses.
kind of narrowed or thought, and he said, but you guys
They've
are.
kind of self-organized into the
And
company
I think that's what we're
because they want to
bringing
work with
to
each
this
other.
conversation.
Because they're all interested for
That's
different
the best
disciplines in the same problem. And
Oh, but that's
so
okay.
they find it
Yeah.
really stimulating to work
Yeah.
with me.
Oh, that's
And, you know, most of them are working just a few hours a week.
Oh, that in and our heads.
Yeah, their jobs as
They're married.
researchers and teachers. So that's.
So what's,
Yeah, Diane is.
Hey
What's
folks, I'm
the-
getting ready to leave.
number one goal?
If you, when you leave, you just can't get back in, okay?
Okay.
All right,
Thank you for letting us know.
You guys have a good New Year's.
Yeah, healthy year to you.
Okay, I guess.
So what's the,
Yeah.
what, outcomes? More people go into nursing.
Well, the first objective is for fewer nurses to quit.
Well, that's right.
So, so that they like their jobs better and they feel like the hospital is taking care of them because through this software system, which allows them to get assignments that they're doing.
We used to do, I
And
used to
so,
do Torah study with Roger at Fairmount.
So we're trying to reduce the
For
burden.
several years.
Turnover. Turnover is really expensive.
Yeah.
And every hospital loses a
Yeah.
plus all sorts of other expenses, probably double that. It's extremely expensive. And so it's in the hospital's interest to reduce the turnover.
How much do nurses make? I don't mean specifically because you know what the numbers are. But when you rush
You guys want any more donuts or anything?
Also,
Yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit, I'll do that right now,
burns them out.
because I guess you're cleaning up.
I hear somebody's picking something up. I brought the tray with the salad, so I want the tray back.
Thank you so much for everything.
I didn't, I just did a little bit, thank you. Incidentally, I don't know that you know.
I think I'll
Very
just.
much choice. Nice to meet you.
And how's Eileen?
She's doing, my wife, I think, she's fine.
Oh, she
She wasn't here.
She sat down.
Oh, good.
I said, look, you want to stay with us? Yeah. So, that's.
And Barry was a doctor, is a doctor.
Oh, retired.
Yeah, retired.
Oh, very good. Arthritis. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, right there.
Oh, Wayne.
Not only is David, also Chad, who sits over there. You know Chad?
Yeah. Who is sitting next to me?
Bart Simon is his name?
Yeah, Bart. He's a businessman.
Oh, he's on this. Thank you.
And he does, this is the first time I've ever seen him. I think he's been here as a.
What's his first name?
Bart, B-A-R-T.
Oh, yeah, he's been here. He's on the list.
Okay, good.
Oh, thank you.
So that's Bart. And,
We met
We met
once
when I first-
before, yeah. Sure, I know, David, man.
so are you enjoying those sessions?
Oh, yeah, well, that's why I keep coming.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
4 times.
yeah, that's right. And, yeah, I'm, getting a lot out of it, and it's stimulating, and it's a nice thing to do.
You are right, boy. It's sure,
That's why we keep coming.
Yeah,
yeah, I'll be missing it. I'm gonna be, spending a little time in January and February. Our kids and grandkids are out in Portland, Oregon, so, and our daughter's, gonna be delivering in a few
Oh, how
weeks. So
exciting.
It is.
Do you see?
I do, yeah, yeah. And sometimes when I'm really ambitious, I'll get up at 6 in the morning and see it live. Yeah,
that is it.
Oh, that's right.
yeah.
So, I have to tell you, I have a good friend who's a neurologist, and,
Sort of thing.
he's, well, I'll just say, I don't think there's
He's
any,
a plumber.
I'll just say, I don't think there's anything in life that, exceeds his capacity.
Wow.
And he told me, once we go cross-country skiing,
There is, oh, that's right. You can take the.
cross-country, smartest guy.
I just need to check this one.
Well, I wasn't at the top of my class, but I have to say it's one of the more complicated parts of medicine because
Maybe
you have to be
10
grounded
minutes.
in internal medicine because the scope of diseases that rheumatology covers the whole entire body.
So the way, so I go back.
Everything on the tray is mine, all of the little things, so everything will go. I want that to turn perfect.
Here, Mr.
And I am.
Go to work.
I mean, throw away what's in it. Throw away what's in it.
So have you ever, you must have encountered Blue Red Hood.
Well, yes, I did.
So I worked with.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That must go back at least 30 years.
No, actually, it's more recent. He's still quite active. And,
I didn't know, I haven't
yeah.
seen it.
And the last time I saw him, which was only a few years ago, in his late 80s, and he still does 200 push-ups a day.
Good for him.
Anyway,
He was definitely at the time.
yeah. I mean, even though he's interested in everything, he is still fundamentally a neurologist. It's incredibly hard.
Already had, it's done now.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen him. He just devours and grateful. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but one of the Rabbis in the New Testament, Mary, has a consort, and his name is Joseph. It's this Joseph. Because first he gets a dream
by God, definitely. An angel appears in the dream to say she's pregnant by the Holy Spirit, not because of you, but it's okay, take her as your wife. Second dream is after Herod. Herod is about to kill all the children, get out of Jerusalem, Bethlehem, and go to Egypt. And then a dream, while he's in Egypt, it's safe to go back.
Wow.
3 dreams. It's interesting.
I had no idea that it was the same Joseph.
Well, it isn't the same Joseph, but the Christian writers said, because there's another infancy narrative in Luke that has none of that, this one is for Jews so that you convert to Christianity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other one is for everybody else.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, you didn't fall for it,
No.
but it's interesting how, they manipulated it so that saying, don't you get it? We're continuing your tradition.
Another bit of sibling rivalry.
Yeah, yeah, that led to some pretty bad things.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Sure. Finish up.
All right, nice to meet you.
So,
Healthy year.
Okay.
bye-bye. Love to Eileen. Yeah, thank you. So, one goal is to prevent people from forgetting the core that we have.
Right, and reduce the associated costs, and also, frankly, eliminate patients. So those are the immediate outcomes. But then, also, that over the course of time, not too many years, you should see an increase in the number of people aspire to nursing care because it's more sustainable. But ultimately, it will transform the way this entire operation works. Because right now, when a patient comes into the hospital, they just put the patient in an open bed.
Absolutely.
Right. They don't think about nurse the patient's gonna get. That's a different process. And there's no data available on anything about nurses. It's not very.